So the French military is back again in West Africa. This is after a few months of complete military withdrawal from the West African sub-region. Officially, the reason they are giving this time around is to help Nigeria fight terrorism. And this is also because Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has officially requested French assistance to combat Boko Haram and jihadist threats in the north. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable, right? It makes sense. But here is the problem. Nigeria just proved it doesn't need French help to fight anyone, because within hours of a phone call from the French President Emmanuel Macron, Nigeria scrambled fighter jets from Lagos. Within 4 hours, those jets were conducting precision airstrikes in Benin Republic. Within 6 hours, Nigerian ground troops had crossed the border and deployed on foreign soil. The operation was flawless, it was organized and deadly. A coup attempt that honestly looked unstoppable, crushed by afternoon. So when Nigeria's government is now saying it needs French help to fight Boko Haram, a terrorist group operating in caves in the Nigerian bushes, something doesn't add up. It just doesn't. The real story here is darker, and it starts with understanding what France is actually afraid of. France has just lost the Sahel to Russia. I'm talking about Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, because they kicked out French troops and partnered with Russia instead. They found the Alliance of Sahel States, an anti-French military bloc led by revolutionary leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré, with a simple mission: African sovereignty without Western control. But now that bloc is expanding towards the coast. Togo is considering joining the AES. Benin shares a border with Niger. And if the Alliance of Sahel States reaches the Atlantic, France loses everything: its market, its military influence, its entire strategy in Africa. So France made a desperate move. It called Nigeria, and Nigeria answered, not to fight terrorism, obviously, but to contain the Alliance of Sahel States, to encircle them, to make sure they never reach the coast. And Benin Republic, Benin is the red line France cannot let fall in line to this coup belt. In this episode, we are exposing, for the lack of a better word, the diabolical deal behind the headlines and what it reveals about who really controls West Africa. Let's get into it. Now pay attention to this timeline. French President Emmanuel Macron picks up the phone and calls Nigerian President Bola Tinubu. 2 hours later, fighter jets from Lagos are bombing a West African country. But nobody, and I mean nobody, is asking the real questions here. If Nigeria can deploy air and ground troops within minutes to a neighboring country, why can't it deploy the same military might to fight Boko Haram, ISWAP, and kidnappers murdering Nigerians at home? This particular question I am asking right now is eating at every single Nigerian right now. And the answer reveals something much bigger than a single coup attempt. Yesterday, December 7th, 2025, this mysterious Macron-Tinubu phone call triggered Nigeria's military deployment to Benin Republic. On the surface, it is looking like regional solidarity, Nigeria helping a neighbor in crisis. But the speed, the precision, the coordination, it is suggesting something much deeper was happening here. Nigerian Air Force jets, they scrambled from Lagos and conducted airstrikes on the Togo military camp in Benin Republic with tactical precision. Ground forces crossed into Benin within hours. The operation was organized, deadly, and decisive. Meanwhile, and this is the part that stinks, in Nigeria's own northeast, Boko Haram and ISWAP continues kidnapping school children, executing soldiers, and controlling vast territories with, or should I say, apparent impunity. JNIM, that's the Al-Qaeda affiliate, it is expanding into Nigeria's Sokoto region unchecked. Brigadier General Musa Oba was executed by jihadists back in November 2025, and hundreds of school children have been kidnapped in Niger State alone. Military outposts have been overrun 15 times. The contrast is stunning. Nigeria mobilized maximum military force for Benin's coup within hours. For its own internal terrorism crisis spanning over 15 years, resources are stretched thin, soldiers are undertrained, and jihadists continue to overrun military positions. To understand why France made that phone call and why Nigeria answered immediately, we need to understand what France is really afraid of and what Nigerians are really angry about right now. Now, this is the quiet part they cannot say out loud in this unholy alliance between France and Nigeria. Now, let's go back to 2022. France, at the time, commanded about 5,000 troops across West Africa and called itself the region's security anchor. Today, there are almost no French soldiers left in the Sahel. What happened? Russia won. And now France is desperate. So desperate, it is willing to sacrifice Nigerian lives to contain the consequences. France deployed Operation Barkhane for a decade with no success defeating these jihadists. In 2020, Mali's military staged a coup. By 2022, Mali's new government told France to leave. Burkina Faso followed in 2023, expelling 400 French special forces. Niger followed by expelling about 1,500 French soldiers in December 2023 after its own coup. Chad kicked out about 1,000 soldiers in January 2025. And by July this year, France handed over all its military bases in Senegal. Meanwhile, Russia moved in. The Wagner Group and African Corps took over security operations in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Russia didn't lecture them about democracy or human rights. Russia offered guns and lots of it, tactical support, and asked no questions. 3 new revolutionary governments now form the Alliance of Sahel States. They partnered with Russia, explicitly rejecting French interference. And these are not weak governments. These are revolutionary leaders. Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso leads the charge, a soldier who fought jihadists on the front lines and decided the problem wasn't terrorism. The problem was France's neocolonialism. The AES declared they will control their own resources, reject Western economic conditions, and build African solutions to African problems. No IMF loans with crushing conditions. No CFA franc currency control by France. No foreign military bases on their own soil. This particular move they made, it terrified France. Not because France cares about jihadists. France cares about control. That is the only thing they care about in Africa. And now France is desperate. So desperate, it is using Nigeria's military to fight a war France already lost in the Sahel. But the real battle isn't over the Sahel anymore. France is willing to do whatever it takes to hold the coast and prevent the Alliance of Sahel States from expanding, even if it means Nigeria neglects its own security crisis. Now imagine this: 3 countries joining together, booting out France, partnering with Russia, and declaring they will defend each other if anyone is attacked. That is the Alliance of Sahel States, and it is expanding. And that's exactly why Nigeria just abandoned, or should I say, deprioritized its war against Boko Haram to fight France's war in Benin Republic. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, they formed the Alliance of Sahel States back in September 2023 with a simple mission: African sovereignty without Western interference. They have already exited ECOWAS officially back in January this year. That was a historic break from West Africa's main regional bloc. They issued AES passports, establishing themselves as a separate political entity. They have already formed a joint military command with mutual defense pact. Attack on one country is an attack on all. They partner with Russia instead of France, and they are offering an alternative model to coastal states that are tired of French control. The AES is recruiting coastal states. Togo's foreign minister announced Togo is considering joining the AES. And why? Because jihadist violence is spreading from the Sahel to the coast, and Togo wants the regional security cooperation the AES offers. But there is a deeper reason here. West African youth are watching, like the younger population in West Africa. They are paying close attention. They see young African military leaders reject Western domination and choosing sovereignty instead. They see leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traore, who served on the front lines against these same jihadists, who understands security challenges from lived experience, who says no to Western control. This is the real threat to France, not the jihadists. The real threat is African sovereignty. The threat that other African military governments will choose the AES model over French neocolonialism. This is what France fears the most. A successful African alternative, one that works, one that delivers sovereignty, one that is spreading. Nigeria's decision to intervene in Benin puts Nigeria on France's side, not on African side. Now, Benin Republic is a small West African country most people have never heard of. But on December 7th, 2025, soldiers tried to seize power there, and within hours, Nigeria abandoned its war against Boko Haram to stop them. Why would Nigeria do that? Because France asked them to, and Nigeria said yes. Benin is francophone, stable, and sits on the coast as the main trade corridor between landlocked Niger and the Atlantic. France has maintained military operation, a permanent naval presence in the Gulf of Guinea, anchored partly in Benin Republic for over 35 years. And here is something interesting. Back in November 2025, just 1 month before this coup attempt, French assault ship visited Cotonou. This wasn't a routine naval business. This was, for lack of a better word, pre-positioning. Benin represents France's last stable francophone coastal ally. If Benin's government forces or allies with the AES, the entire French containment strategy collapses. Benin becomes the pathway for AES expansion to the coast. Togo joins. Ghana is looking both ways. French economic interests collapse. The CFA franc system, where France still controls the money supply of about 14 African countries, they becomes vulnerable. ECOWAS control, they weakens. This is the domino effect. The coup attempt was existential to France. That is why France called Nigeria. That is why Nigeria responded within hours. Benin was not just a coup. It was a test of France's ability to defend its last strategic stronghold in West Africa. But here is what Nigerians see. Nigeria didn't send fighter jets to Benin because Benin people were in danger. Nigeria sent fighter jets because France asked Nigeria to protect French strategic interests. As a matter of fact, the people of Benin Republic were out in the street supporting these coup plotters. That is to tell you the reality on ground. The question is Nigeria fighting for Africa or is Nigeria fighting for France? And while Nigerian jets were flying over, Boko Haram was executing Nigerian soldiers, kidnapping Nigerian children, and controlling Nigerian territory. The contrast here reveals the hard truth. Nigeria's government prioritizes French interests over Nigerian security. Now, Nigeria's President Tinubu officially requested French military assistance to fight terrorism in northern Nigeria. And that sounds like he's doing his job, right? But the timing is dangerously suspicious, and the real purpose might be making excuses, or should I say, providing cover for why Nigeria's military keeps losing to Boko Haram. Nigeria is genuinely facing a catastrophic security crisis. Boko Haram, ISWAP, and Saru, bandit gangs, they terrorize the north and central regions. Tinubu declared a national emergency on November 26, 2025. But after 15 years of fighting these groups, Nigeria's military still can't defeat them. Meanwhile, the same military deployed fighter jets to Benin Republic within hours and conducted precision strikes. That is what Nigerians are seeing here. Nigeria can organize within 2 hours to fight a coup in another country. But after 15 years, it cannot defeat Boko Haram operating in its own backyard. Nigeria can deploy ground troops across borders, but can't rescue over 300 school children kidnapped in Niger State. Nigeria can conduct tactical airstrikes in Cotonou, but can't locate jihadist enclaves in Sambisa Forest. Tinubu's request for French help serves multiple purposes here. First, it gives France a reason to provide intelligence and coordination for Nigeria's regional interventions. AES containment, in other words, that is what it basically means. Second, it provides Tinubu with a convenient excuse for domestic security failures. We are doing our best, but terrorism is complex. international help is needed. The same Nigeria is rejecting Donald Trump from bringing his military guns ablazing to fight these same terrorists. And Nigeria is giving every excuse in the world to make sure Donald Trump does not send his military. They are saying, no, there is no persecution or genocide of Christians. The terrorism is evenly spread between Christians, Muslims, and even non-religious people. But now, they are demanding and begging France to step in. Isn't something missing here? Something is not adding up here. And that is what we are looking into in this episode. Now, according to Tinubu, international help is needed. And when Tinubu says Nigeria needs French assistance fighting terrorism, he is being careful with the truth. Nigeria doesn't need foreign help to defeat Boko Haram. Nigeria has already proven it can organize, deploy, and execute military operations with precision. What Nigeria needs help with is something else, something darker, something that has nothing to do with Sambisa Forest or Boko Haram. But Nigeria's government is agreeing to be French military force while claiming it needs foreign help to fight its own terrorism. This raises the uncomfortable question about who really controls Nigeria's military decisions. Nigeria deployed the most advanced military assets available within a very short notice. I'm talking about fighter jets, trained ground troops, coordinated airstrikes to stop a coup in Benin Republic. Meanwhile, those same assets couldn't be deployed fast enough to prevent Boko Haram from executing Nigerian soldiers, kidnapping Nigerian children, and expanding its territory. Nigeria has the largest military in West Africa, about 143,000 active personnel. Nigeria dominates ECOWAS policy. When France needs military action, Nigeria can deliver without French visibility. And this is the genius of the arrangement, honestly. France doesn't need permanent bases. France operates through intelligence, coordination, and equipment support. Nigeria does the military work. But here is the problem. If Nigeria has this military capacity, why is it being overwhelmed by Boko Haram and bandit gangs at home? The answer is partly logistical. The answer is partly strategic. But the answer is also deeply political, or should I say geopolitical. Nigeria's military resources are being prioritized for regional intervention, serving France's AES containment strategy over domestic security. Fighter jets that could conduct surveillance in northeast Nigeria were sent to Benin Republic. Ground troops that could be deployed to rescue kidnapped school children were deployed across borders. Officers who could be planning counter-terrorism operations are coordinating international responses. Former Nigerian Minister Solomon Dalong articulated the national anger. Let the fighter jet that flew into Cotonou also roar into Sambisa Forest. Let the boat that marched for Benin march for the kidnapped schoolgirls. This statement captures what Nigerians are feeling. Nigeria has proven it can organize rapid military interventions across borders when called upon. The question Nigerians are asking is this: why can't it organize the same effort to protect Nigerians at home? Nigeria's government mobilized maximum military force in 2 hours for Benin school. For Boko Haram and ISWAP, it has been fighting for 15 years with limited success. What does this tell you about whose interests Nigeria's military serves? And what does it reveal about the grip France have on West Africa? Nigeria made a strategic choice on December 7, 2025, yesterday. When Macron called, Tinubu answered. When France asked for military intervention, Nigeria delivered. The operation succeeded. Benin coup was defeated. France protected its strategic asset. But the cost to Nigeria is mounting. Every day the Benin operation was planned was a day Nigeria's military wasn't planning operation in Sambisa Forest. Every soldier deployed to Benin was a soldier unavailable in the northeast. Every intelligence resource coordinating with France was unavailable for analyzing Boko Haram movement. And here is the tragic irony. Nigeria's military proved it's capable. It proved it can organize, deploy, and execute complex operations. What it proved, by contrast, is that failures against Boko Haram, ISWAP, and bandits are due to political choices and the political will to crush this insecurity. Nigeria's government chose to prioritize French interests, AES containment over Nigerian lives, which is domestic terrorism. And for this, Nigerians are increasingly angry. Soldiers are demoralized. Communities are skeptical. International observers are now asking, if Nigeria can stop a coup within 2 hours, why can't it stop jihadists who have been operating in the same territory for 15 years? For Pan-Africans watching across the continent, this reveals the ultimate neo-colonial trap. Nigeria accepted the role of regional proxy, thinking it would gain influence and security. Instead, Nigeria's military is now spread thin. Its resources are diverted and citizens are increasingly unprotected. This is what happens when African countries prioritize serving Western strategic interests over African sovereignty and security. Meanwhile, the Alliance of Sahel States, led by revolutionary leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré and General Chiani, who refuse Western interference, they are watching and they are learning. Because Nigeria's decision to be French military enforcer in West Africa, it is revealing the ultimate trap of neo-colonialism. You become so useful for your former colonizer that you can't serve your own people. The Benin coup showed Nigeria's capability. Now Nigerians are asking when that same capability will be unleashed on the real threat to African sovereignty. Not the coup in their neighboring countries, but terrorism, banditry, and the slow strangulation of African independence by foreign powers. The answer will determine not just Nigeria's future, but the future of West Africa itself. Now, if you are watched to this point, this is Frontline Africa, where we talk about geopolitics from Africa's own point of view, where we bring you the stories with the kind of details mainstream media does everything to avoid. Now, go to the comment section and tell us what you think about this latest development in West Africa, because West Africa is now in uncharted territory. The first coup attempt in coastal West Africa was attempted yesterday. No, technically not the first, but I can say it is the first major coup attempt in coastal West Africa. Most of the coups we are seeing have been in the Sahel, landlocked countries. Although a few of them, like Guinea-Bissau, we both know it's not technically a coup. It was a kind of change of government from one person to his friends. And look at how ECOWAS and the African Union reacted to that coup. It will tell you exactly what is happening in West Africa. Because think about this. Nigeria deployed military force, air force, and ground troops to Benin Republic within 2 hours. And weeks after what happened in Guinea-Bissau happened, there is no military deployment. There is no ECOWAS strong condemnation, because the guy, President Embalo, is one of them. It is a gentleman agreement meant to make sure that the opposition does not get declared the winner of the election. And these are the issues. This is why young people in West Africa are not happy with the establishment, because of the double standards. They cannot react the same way across board when there is a coup. Now, look at what is happening in another Guinea. There are 3 Guineas in Africa, and most of the time it is confusing. Now, in Domboya's country, this guy staged a coup in 2021. And right now, he has amended the constitution to allow him run for president this December. Now, there are no condemnation to that. He is strategically transitioning from a military leader to a democratically elected president. And you know, the one thing he has in common with what happened in Guinea-Bissau, he's also a French asset. He's a French puppet. He works for the French. So they can allow the coup fly. They can allow him transition to become a civilian president. And when we complain about it, they will say we should respect the constitutional order. But these are the same people that are changing the constitution. Even President Talon in Benin Republic, he changed the constitution and he banned political opponents from running in the April 2026 election. And guess who is running almost unopposed? The guy he had picked to be his successor. And when the soldiers decide they have had enough, they will call them rogues, they will call them criminals, and they will hunt them down. West Africa is an uncharted territory. And we only hope that courageous leaders will rise. Leaders like we have in the AES will rise across West Africa and take back our region, our continent, for the people of Africa that actually live in Africa, and not France, and not Western profiteers, people whose sole aim is to keep us in perpetual bondage and extract our natural resources. Now, tell us what you feel about all of this I am saying in the comment section. And if you want to continue to see my content, maybe consider to subscribe and turn on those notifications. I am still your host, Ezekiel Enejeta, and I will see you in the next one. It's a bye-bye for now.